Hello and welcome to this tutorial on C programming. Now this tutorial is meant for complete beginners. That means that you don't have to have any prior knowledge or experience in computer programming or C programming language. And this tutorial is also for people who are trying out computer programming for the very first time. So before we get on and before we get started with the interesting part of writing our own code, I want you to go to a browser and download a software. Now we'll be using this for writing our code and executing it. So I want you to go to your browser and search for code blocks. Now I want you to go to this link right here, and I want you to go to the downloads section. Now over here you can see many options or many sublinks over here. I want you to select this one, download the binary release link. Once here, I want you to, now you get many file option over here. I want you to select the mingw setup option right here. Now why are we using this one? Well, this contains the compiler. You can read right here that it contains the compiler as well as the IDE. So you can select this link right here and you can download it, mingw setup.exe, and you can go ahead and download it. Now I have already downloaded it, so I'm not gonna do that again. So once you're done with the downloading, I want you to run the setup. Now I want you to leave everything as it is over here. Yeah, so leave everything as it is, leave everything the default checkboxes. Now you can select your desired folder where you would like to install it. Now once done with the installation part, you will be prompted that whether you want to launch code blocks or not. So once you launch code blocks, this is the page that you will be greeted with. Now this is the landing page of code blocks, and again there are multiple options here. So what I want you to do is select the create a new project option. Now when you select the create a new project option, you get multiple selections for different projects. So these are different types of project that you can make here, and the one that we'll be working on is the console application project. So go ahead and select the console application project. Now once here, you have to make a selection between C and C++. So select C, and now you have to select the project title. So I'll write first project. Okay, now here after I've selected the project title, now I want you to keep this as it is and hit finish. Now that we are done with it, creating a first project, on the left hand side you can see the tree structure of our project. Okay, so here is our first project in sources in main.c. When you click main.c, this is our C program file. This is where we'll be working. This is the file that we'll code on. So now to check if everything is alright, if everything is running, I want you to select this option right here, build and run. So when you click this button right here, you will be greeted with a black screen right here. This is our console window. Right here you can see our output as hello world. Now if this is working alright, all good, then it's okay. But if you get an error right in the bottom that there was a problem with the compiler or something, to fix that error, what I want you to do is, if you had an error and a black screen didn't appear over here, a console window didn't appear here, I want you to go to the settings and compiler, and then toolchain executables, and then select hit this button right here, auto detect button. So if you did get an error over here right here, if it was written some error about compiler and you didn't get a console window after clicking the build and run button, do this following step and go ahead and click auto detect. Once you do this and press OK, now when you build and run, everything should be fine, everything should be running. Now that we are done with the setup part of our tutorial, and that we have everything up and running and we can write our code and execute it, let's first of all look at the structure of our program. So for ease and simplicity, I have divided this program into 4 different parts, and these 4 different parts are as follows. So first we have is the hash. So anything that starts with an hash is a preprocessor directive. So you see these 2 green lines right here, these are preprocessor directives. Now we need not stress about these right now, but for now let's just keep this in mind that what these do. So what these do is that they take code from some other files and insert it into this file. Now why do they do that and why do we need it? We'll get into it in the later stages of the tutorial. So that's the only part that we need to remember about them. The second part of our code contains the main function. So this main function is the start of our program. Okay, so this is how you define the main function. You write int main and then 2 round brackets and then 2 curly braces. Now what is main? So main function is the entry point in our program. So there is only one main function in our entire program, and whenever the code is run, everything inside the main function is executed. All right, so how do we know where it starts, where it ends? So these curly braces right here, as you see, the opening one is this one and the closing one is this one. So everything inside them is the body of the main function. Everything inside the main function gets executed. So now the third part of a program is the predefined function. So this is a predefined function. So unlike main function, which is only there is only one of it in the program, the predefined function or the printf function can be many. We'll come to it later, but this is a predefined function right here. And after it we have is the return statement. All right, so what the return statement does is, after we have written many lines of code and did some manipulation and everything, we want to tell the compiler that okay, we are done with it and we want to stop the execution of the program, we want to exit it. So what return statement does it exits the program. Okay, and what I want you to remember is everything that we do in this tutorial will come in this part. Okay, so right inside the main function and right before return 0 statement, everything that we are going to do is gonna come right in this part. All right, so this was just the structure of our program. Now we're gonna write the first part of our code. So like I said in the last tutorial, that everything that we're gonna write is gonna come right here. Okay, in this part right here. So everything above that or everything below that is gonna remain the same throughout the tutorial. Okay, so everything is gonna come inside our main function. Now the function that we're gonna use or we're gonna learn about is the printf function. Now this is a predefined function. So unlike the main function that we need to define, you can see right here with the curly braces right here that we are defining this function. The main function has already been defined, so we're gonna use this function. Okay, and so like I said in previous tutorials, like these are preprocessor directives, and this printf function comes from this header file right here. So stdio.h, that standard input library, and that's where we get the printf function from. So it's already been defined, we only use it. All right, so to the syntax for writing a printf function is the name of the function followed by the round brackets and then the terminator. Okay, so another thing that you need to remember is after every single statement that you write, you need to put in a terminator. So you can see right here there's a terminator and right here there's a terminator. So these are statement terminator. These are a way to tell that we are done writing a statement, or that our statement has ended. So everywhere make a habit of putting the terminator right here. Okay, so the name of the function, the round brackets, and the terminator. So everything that goes inside the round brackets can be, you know, like treated as the input to the function. So over here what we give as input you can look at it as, you know, giving input to the function. So over here what we're giving as input to the function is the hello world statement. Okay, so let's see what this function does. So what the printf function does is that it, you know, prints things to the console window. All right, so everything that comes inside these double quotes goes inside the console window. So when we run it, when we build and run, and remember the button to build and run, it's this one. So when we build and run it, you see hello world, the statement that we wrote right here inside the round brackets. Okay, now let's take a little exercise and, you know, try and write I love coding. So when we build and run this, we get I love coding in a single line. Now what we are gonna try and do is print I on one single line, love on another line, and coding on another line. Okay, so what our normal logic would say is that we should, you know, use 3 printfs. Okay, so we should use 3 printfs. Okay, and on each of the printf there should be 3 different, you know, words that we want to print. So 3 different printfs. When we go ahead and you know, run it, we should get these 3 lines on 3 different lines. So this is what our normal logic would say. But when we do that, what we get is I love coding on one single line. Okay, so the thing with the printf statement is something, we have something known as an escape sequence. Now what does the escape sequence do? Well, the escape sequence tells the printf statement that, okay, we want to do something rather other than printing the characters that we have printed. All right, so that means that we printed some character, like some symbol, and when we print it, we don't want you to print these characters, but rather we want you to do something else. All right, so let's look at it in an example. So every escape sequence starts with a backslash. Okay, so every escape sequence starts with a backslash. Now we have different escape sequences for different things, but for now, for printing the new line, the escape sequence that we use, or the character that we use, is n. Okay, so first start of a escape sequence is a backslash, and then the type of escape sequence that we are using is the character that we use after the backslash. So for printing a new line, it's n. Okay, so let's try it in our code. So printf and then backslash n, love, and then backslash n. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna print I, and then over here we are using backslash n as a way to say that, okay, we wanna do something else rather than you printing just backslash n. So this is an escape sequence. So when we do this, when we print it, what we get here is I, and then backslash n was used here, so it went to a new line, love, and then backslash n was used here, it went to a new line, and then coding. So you see it got printed on 3 different lines. So that's how you use backslash n. Now the other thing is that we don't even need 3 different printfs to print you know, something on 3 different lines. We can do it using one single printf. So what we do is I backslash n, and then coding, and then again backslash n, oh sorry, I love, and then coding. Now when we try and build and run it, you see we get the same output right here. Okay, so we don't even need 3 printfs for that. So that was it for printf. You can, you know, go ahead and try it, try different try putting multiple printfs or single printf, and try using it so you can get comfortable with it. and I'll see you in the next part of the tutorial. So let's move on to variables. So why do we need variables? So it may happen that sometimes we need to take input from the user and store it somewhere, and it may also happen that we perform some computations, some operations, and we need to store the result of those operations to so that it can be used later on. So that's why we need variables. And I like to look at variables as empty containers or empty boxes, as you can say. So just like containers, we have different containers for storing different kind of things. We have different variables for storing different types of values in it. Okay, so the different types of variables we have many of them, but for now we'll look at these four. So the first one is the int type variable or the integer type variable. So this stores integer values. Okay, and then we have the float type variable that store decimal point values or floating point numbers. All right, and the char variable is used to store characters, and the double is used for storing multiple precision point floating point value. Okay, so in this part of the tutorial we'll just be dealing with the integer type variable. So before we get started by using variables, there are two different you can say steps to using variables. Now the first step is the declaration of the variables. So for using variables, we need to declare them. We need to tell the compiler or the code that okay, we are declaring it, we want to use it. So this is the format for declaration of a variable. It's the data type of the variable and the variable name. So for now, the first part, let's get on with the first step. So declaring it, so the data type of the variable followed by the variable name. So the variable name that I'll choose is var1, or you know what, first var. Now you can choose anything in place of first var. This is what I chose. Now the next part is once we have declared the variable, we can assign values to the variable. Okay, so the second step in using variable is assignment or assigning the value of the variable. So on the left comes the name of the variable, that is first var, and on the right comes the value that you want to assign it. Now this is an integer type variable, so we will assign an integer value to it. So let's assign it a value of 2. So now we have a variable first var and it has a value of 2. So when we build and run it, you see we have no output over here. You get nothing over here, right? So because we haven't printed this variable, so to print this variable, we'll use the function that we learned before, which is the printf function. Now what should we do here? Now if I give it input as first var, what will we get? We'll get the text first var over here. We should get the text first var. You see, we get the text first var, not the variable value or not the variable that we assigned here. Now to tell the printf statement that okay, we need to use the variable over here, what we do is we put something known as the format specifier. So this person is the format specifier, and then tell the format of the variable. So the format over here we are using is integer, so the format specifier for integer is %d. Now when we type this, our printf knows that okay, we want to print an integer value. Okay, so it's gonna go okay, it's an integer value. Now we want to tell it which variable. We might have multiple variables in the code. Now we need to tell it that which variable that we want to use in place of this %d. So what we do for that is after the double quotes, use the comma and then the name of the variable. Okay, right here. So now our printf knows okay, I have to print a integer is the first var variable. Okay, so when I go and print it, when I go and run and build it, you see we get the value, we get the answer as 2. Okay, now what we'll do is try and print first var twice. Okay, so when I do %d and again %d, what it tells the compiler that we want to print okay two different integer values, but the problem is we have just one variable right here. So what we'll do is add another comma and then first var. So now it knows, okay, I need to print two different integer values followed by, and these two integer values are these two variables. Okay, so when I go and build and run it, what we get here is 2 and then 2. Okay, now let's print multiple variables. Okay, so for printing multiple variables, what we do is this we have declared a first var right here. So this is one of our variable. To declare multiple variables, we add in comma and then we add the name of the variable that we would like to declare. So now we have declared two different variables. All right, so to declare multiple variables, you just add comma and then the name of the variable, then comma and then name. Okay, so now we have two different variables declared right here. After that, what we do is we assign values to it. So yeah, we'll assign values even to second var, and that would be 4. Okay, so now we'll print %d and then the first var and then the second var. Now when we build and run it, we get the output as this 2 and 4. You see right here. Now another interesting thing that we can do with variables is use a combination of variables and text. So for instance, I can write I love to eat %d apples every day. Now when we build and run this, we get the answer as I love to eat 2 apples every day. Okay, so you can see when we change the value of 2 to 3 and build and run it, it becomes I love to eat 3 apples every day. So you see, we declared the variable just once, but our text gets changed whenever we change the value of the variable. So that's how it may come handy. We take the input from the user multiple times and it changes certain values. Now I want you to go ahead and create some more variables, some more printf statement, and use them together so that you can get comfortable with it. And this was it for this part of our tutorial for the variable parts, and this is also the end of video 1, and I'll be making some more videos in this tutorial series. And till then, thank you for watching and see you next time.